What's up, everybody? I took some time off. I needed some peace away from Facebook. Still may take some peace. I just needed to drop this video. I don't start something without finishing it, and the election is still going on. So what you're about to listen to is a phone interview I did with an individual that's still law enforcement. So we're going to keep his identity hush hush. That's not going to stop some of you shitbags for going to try and find him and ruin his career the way you are trying to ruin Aaron Murray's career. But you know, there's evil in the world, and there'll be evil in the world as long as man is in the world. But give this interview a listen. I asked if he'd be okay with doing a recorded phone call. We addressed this letter that's been produced, floating around online. We go over certain bullet points in there, and I'll just ask him, hey, did you witness this? Do you agree with this? Is this false? Is this true? And he worked there at the exact same time as Aaron and this Jimmy individual. So give the video a listen and go with what you think's right. Here it is. All right, so we're going to refer to you as Sergeant. For the listeners, we're going to try our best, just because, you know, y'all don't need to know who he is, and we are just going to use him as a character testimony because there's a letter that came out recently, and after I asked a few questions of Aaron about this letter, I was like, well, that's just one-sided and one person's opinion, so let's get an opinion from our side. So first, just be aware that do you agree that this call can be recorded and used for later use?
Yes, sir.
All right, right on, Sergeant. So, simply, do you know a guy named Aaron Murray?
I do.
All right, and how do you know him, and how long did you know him, either before or do you still keep in touch?
I met Aaron probably before he was a cop, back in 1999, I believe.
Okay.
Pre-academy, police academy. That's where I met him. I was actually standing in a line with a bunch of other people in the academy. We were buying uniforms for our school, and Aaron was behind me, I believe, and he tapped me on the shoulder. He introduced himself, and he started a conversation with me, which I was kind of surprised because everybody else there was kind of quiet. We had a good conversation, just general, how you doing, what are you doing, where you come from, you know, just go everyday talking. Which was pretty interesting because no one else was saying much of anything because everybody was either nervous or, you know, shy or something like that. But that was like my first impression of Aaron.
All right. And have you, so it's been probably, what, about 25 years then?
Yeah, about 25 years.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Are you aware that he's running for sheriff over here in Walton County?
Yeah, I was recently made aware of that.
All right.
Yep.
So, because he's running for sheriff, he's running against an individual that I think's been sheriff for 14 years, and this guy's ran unopposed. Nobody's ever ran against him. So, in my opinion, I feel like they think you know, that's their position. So, of course, you know, there's going to be some heat going back and forth. And the latest heat that has come down in this has been a letter written allegedly by an individual named Jimmy Wright. Do you know who Jimmy Wright is?
Yes, I know who he is. He worked at NASA.
Okay.
Or still works at NASA. I'm not really sure the whereabouts of him at this present time.
All right. So present time, we don't have to talk about that. What I do want to talk about, though, did you work at NASA for G4s when both Aaron Murray and Jimmy Wright worked there?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so now we got all three of y'all working there. So I want to go over just a few lines in the letter that Jimmy wrote because I want to ask you about these specifically.
Okay.
So let's see. And if you don't know, just say you don't know. And if you don't want to answer, I totally get that too. So towards the top, he said, Jimmy says that he personally held a leadership position on the NASA SWAT team for over 15 years. Was that true? Do you know?
Leadership, they have like little squad type leaders. I know he was one of the senior guys that had been there for a long time. Okay. He wasn't like a lieutenant or anything like that because that was my position on the team. So as far as a team lead, maybe, I guess if you want to call it that, there's like 5 or 6 guys per shift.
Okay.
And then he might have been the senior guy on that shift. It was between, I believe, him and another guy. So.
Okay, so not one of the top dogs, but he had probably some people that he was looking over.
Correct. Well, he didn't look over personnel. I think their team leads kind of dictated more of overtime, and if someone calls out sick, they do take in charge of that.
Oh, so he wasn't probably not directly in charge of individuals?
No, he never gave anybody pretty much orders to do anything.
All right, well, in my opinion, then, he wasn't a leader because, you know, I come from the Army, and leaders, you know, we're in charge of individuals. So maybe that was just him beefing it up. I don't know, but, yep, so we've established he wasn't in charge of anyone. That doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get his character, you know.
Absolutely.
All right, so the first thing I want to ask you about, he makes the claim in here, and his words were, Mr. Murray made a statement to him that he was going to fire all the military veterans from the team and hire his friends from Osceola. At any point when you were there, did you or Aaron Murray talk and he mention anything about not liking or wanting to fire all the veterans so he can hire his friends?
No, absolutely not. He was more of hiring people that had knowledge of up-and-coming, you know, SWAT tactics. I know when I got there, a lot of their tactics are old, very old. Like I said, I was 12 years on a SWAT team and, you know, had several barricades, you know, did the whole SWAT thing for 12 years. And when I left the place I was working at as a law enforcement officer, went over there, you know, I had an opportunity to train these guys something new. And you know, a lot of them didn't want change. You know, It was a lot of sitting around and doing much of nothing. I know Aaron implemented over there about them even going to have to check gates that are locked. You know, coming from a law enforcement side of it is just kind of, you know, okay, just go check a gate, and, you know, it takes maybe an hour, 2 hours out of their time of an 8-hour shift to go check a gate, and then they could pretty much do whatever they want on property.
All right. So. But you would say he's, back then, he's, you know, as far as what we're talking about, he was pro-veteran, as long as, you know, he just wanted the good experience?
Absolutely. We had hired, I believe under Aaron, we had hired a veteran, one of the other teammates' friends.
Right on.
You know? Yeah. And we hired him, and there was no objection to it. There was nothing like that. He was a good guy. He worked hard. You know, I think he ran into some problems later on, but hey, everybody does.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Aaron, I believe, was just trying to get seniority, people who actually have done SWAT stuff, legitimate SWAT stuff on the team, so we could help these guys, you know, change it. Because everything with NASA, truly, it's not going to be a barricade suspect. It's going to be an active shooter. So that's what NASA was kind of rolling towards.
Gotcha.
So, you know, everything we learned and we did was all dynamic. So, you know, this stop and hold, and, you know, it was just more progressive with the newer type people, newer people coming in. Had nothing to do with Osceola. I don't live in Osceola. I didn't live in Osceola. I don't even, never worked for Osceola. So I don't know where that even came from.
Awesome.
I think that they, you know, kind of got all worried about, you know, because he did bring law enforcement in. I think that might have been an issue, but not so much Osceola trying to replace everybody. There's no way of that.
Now, this isn't one of my written questions, but with what you just said, it popped something into my head. Now, you talked about him wanting to bring actual law enforcement in, and I'm a little familiar with the situation. Did he want to bring them in because, unlike other security guards, they would be certified and have arrest authority?
Well, so that whole NASA issue is all really convoluted. It's really hard to get into that property. You know, I mean, the bottom line is they're security guards, paid security guards. That's all we were. You know, NASA facility, NASA themselves wanted to go a different direction at times, I believe. Yeah. And that created some major conflict.
Yep, and I think a lot of people have read about it. But we won't dive into that. We'll just stick to this right here. The next thing I'll ask, one statement he said, quote, I found Mr. Murray to be very unprofessional and unreliable, often overlooking safety and lesson plans for training. And then he goes on to quote that I am a certified rappel fries master, and I was put in charge of writing the lesson plan for fast roping prior to Murray being hired onto the team. I had to notify NASA safety several times of unsafe fast rope training being conducted while under Murray. Now I know that was a bunch, but while there, did you see any unprofessional or unreliable, overlooking safety and all that with
no,
Murray?
absolutely not. And you're a military guy yourself. You know, it's the government is so safe. It's sorry, if that makes any sense. Like,
yes.
You know, we couldn't go up 3 feet of a step ladder without being harnessed in. So there's no non-safety, especially when you're fast roping. Because now you're talking about a helicopter, and they have their own procedures. They wouldn't let us do it.
Gotcha.
So,
all right.
You know, I mean, I was in probably the tail end parts of them adjusting it. I know when I was there, we did fast roping, and there was no safety issues, and no one complained about it.
Excellent. All right. Now he says, Mr. Murray created a hostile work environment and unsafe training. Did you ever witness any hostile work environment or unsafe training?
Aaron's not a hostile guy. That's not in his personality. I've never seen that. And like I said, I've known him for 24 years, and I've never seen him yell. I've never seen him get irate. And I never personally worked for Aaron until NASA.
Got it.
You know, and I knew his character long before that, and that's what kind of drew me to work there.
Gotcha.
You know, his personality and stuff like that. He's not like that. That's not Aaron at all.
All right, and this will be the last thing. This is the very last part of his letter, and I'll read it to you. It's a couple lines. Mr. Jimmy Wright states, overall, I would not recommend electing Mr. Aaron Murray for Walton County Sheriff, as my experience with him personally and professionally were extremely unsatisfactory. I regret choosing to work with him and would advise others to look elsewhere for better service and results. Do you believe his words, even though they're his opinion, do you believe they're true, or do you disagree with him?
I disagree with that. Aaron is definitely a leader when it comes to that. He's very knowledgeable. He worked hard to learn every aspects of it. You know, there's stuff that I chose not to really care about, is like the ammo, you know, the bullets, the guns. I know he got new weapons and stuff like that for all those guys. And it just, you know, I think truthfully what it all comes down to is change. Nobody wanted to change. And with these times and with these type of people that we deal with out here and the active shooters and stuff, you have to change. And Aaron's all about changing and moving things forward. And I know I struggled there with a lot of non-changing, don't want to change, don't want to conform and stuff. You know, ultimately it made my decision to leave as well.
Got it.
You know, it was just, it wasn't going anywhere. They weren't progressing, and, you know, it wasn't hostile. There was no, they got mad, and I say they, I mean the team members, you know, they didn't like anybody that wasn't part of them. You know, no military or anything like that, and I have no military.
Gotcha.
You know?
Well, then the last two questions, stupid simple, yes or no. Would you recommend him for a sheriff position?
Aaron, absolutely.
And would you work with or for him again?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
I did once before, and I'd do it again. I'd do it again.
Hey, Sergeant, I appreciate this.
Yeah, no worries.
And hopefully this gives the listeners, which I'm pretty sure they already know, that the statements from that individual are bullshit, but sometimes they like to hear it from other people. So, hey, they want to fire at us, we return with effective fire and fire superiority. So, yeah,
and, you know, there's always people out there that don't agree with what you did, but, you know, I mean, like, to take it on a personal level, that's like, you know, that becomes childish.
Yep, I got it. Well, I appreciate it. And
yeah, no worries.
All right, have a good day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
All right. Well, hopefully you watched all that and you're still sticking around. As you can see, this current law enforcement individual said all that was total bullshit, which is real sad that people are out to get individuals that solely just want to make something better than what they see. And I'm talking about the current sheriff's department. And some of these people are they don't even give a shit about you know, who's going to be sheriff. They just want to make others fail. They see me pushing for a sheriff, so they automatically dislike the individual that I want to go put in the sheriff office. But as you can see, that sergeant definitely disagreed with that letter. And you're going to say, well, how do you know he wasn't lying? Well, how do you know the Jimmy Wright guy wasn't lying? You just got to trust in yourself and what you believe. So I may be more active back on Facebook, but it's kind of more peaceful not being on Facebook. So just behave on the page, and if I got to drop another video, we'll see. All right, go vote. Aaron, thank you.